So let's talk a little bit about the science of emotional intelligence and how emotions are actually created in your brain. And I love this bit because it's so interesting, because often we think that we are our emotions. We think that we are that sad, depressed, angry, frustrated, worry person, but we're not, because those are just feelings that have been created in your body. I'm going to explain as well what is the difference between feelings and emotions. Really interesting. So we experience life through our senses. So we've obviously got 5 normal senses, which is our eyesight, what we hear, what we taste, what we touch. And then we've also got a 6th sense, which is more about our intuition, but we'll get into that a bit later. So we experience life through our senses. So if you think about it this way, let's talk about the way you interpret life through your sight. So you see something, you're looking at something, you're watching an event happening out there. It could be anything. You could be watching a conversation, it could be an accident, whatever it is, something on TV. You're seeing that information and it's coming through to your eyes. You're also hearing it at the same time. This information then goes straight to the middle part of your brain. And this is where your emotional brain is, which is called the amygdala. And that information then takes 6 seconds to get to your logical brain, which is at the top of your head. So there are different parts of the brain. So we have the left side, the right side, the bottom side, the middle side, the top side. But I just mostly get into a few parts. I don't get into all of them. So coming back to how it then gets interpreted. So this information comes through, goes into the emotional brain, to the middle part of the brain where the amygdala sits. That information goes to the rational brain. The rational brain then creates a thought, because now it's like there's an interpretation that happens there. The thought becomes a feeling, and the feeling becomes an emotion. Now, the difference between a feeling and emotion is that the feeling is this little stimuli that you feel in your gut, and then the emotion is the energy of that feeling and that energy of how you do things. So based on whatever's going on here, that perception that is created by the interpretation of what you're seeing or what you're experiencing, that gives you that thought, then that feeling, then you act out based on all of that. And that's what emotion is. So they're really closely linked together, but they're not exactly the same thing. Now, when we're not emotionally intelligent, we can often get hijacked by the emotional brain. And what that means is that we react based on the information we get here in the emotional brain before waiting for it to get to the rational brain to decide what we want to do with that information. And sometimes we think that 6 seconds isn't a long time. But if you count it, if you've been taught to count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 6 seconds actually seems like quite a long time. And based on how quickly our brains work, that is a very long time. So being emotionally intelligent is not reacting from this part of the brain, but waiting for the information to get to the rational brain so you can decide what you're going to do with that information, which will then create that feeling and then create the emotion. Now, why we react on this part of the brain is because all our memories are housed here. So everything that's happened to you from the day you were born, some scientists say that we even have memories from when we were in the womb. So all of that information is stored in the emotional brain. It's almost like, yes, the images as well. So it's not just feelings, it's memories, it's pictures, because the brain works in images. So when we don't wait for that emotion, or should I say wait for that information to get there and we act here, that's when this can hijack your experience or whatever you're doing. So let me give you an example. So say, for instance, as a child, you were called a bad name at school, or somebody called you a loser, or they called you ugly, or something mean that somebody said. And as a child, you believed them, and it caused a reaction within you because it made you feel bad about yourself, it made you self-conscious, And especially when we believe something and we keep thinking about that thing over and over again, it then creates a program, a belief that then lies in the unconscious mind. And so it's something that is housed there, it's stored there. Now, when you are older and somebody makes a similar comment, or your partner says, oh, no, you look fat in that, or no, you don't look so attractive in that, or anything that could be interpreted in a similar way to what you experienced as a child, then immediately, before even thinking about the information or allowing that information to go here, you react based on that, and you overreact and you go crazy and you shout and you scream and you have a big fight. Whereas if you had looked at this and said, well, actually, that's not what he meant. He might have said, well, I don't look my best in that because I asked for his opinion, or maybe it's not flattering what I'm wearing. He's not calling me fat. He's not calling me ugly. But because of what happened, because of what's happened in the past, and you creating that interpretation based on the past, you then react based on an old memory, because that memory is right here. That pain is still stuck here. The hurt feelings are still stuck here. And so in order for you to not have that reaction, there's two things that you can do. And the one is to wait until the information gets to the logical brain, or you can process that memory and that trauma, because that's what it was. It's a mini trauma that is created. So trauma is anything that has hurt you and you haven't been able to process it, and you're still living with that pain. So I do explain in my group of various ways of how you can actually get rid of that trauma. So as I said, there's two ways to do it. And the quickest way for you to wait for that information to get from your emotional brain to your logical brain is to count to 10. 10 is a little bit longer than counting to 6. So count to 10 and then think about it and go, hang on, what is this person actually really saying? And what am I going to do about it? Because it's all about then choosing what you're going to feel and choosing how you're going to react, because that is what it's like to be emotionally intelligent. We don't allow our emotions to rule us and ruin our lives. Instead, we look at it and go, what is this emotion telling me? Okay, I've got some unresolved feelings here. I have some unresolved hurt and trauma that I need to deal with. And then also I need to look at the situation differently, because it's not the same situation that I experienced as a 7-year-old. So let me base my interpretation of what this person said to me rationally, and then you get to choose how you feel and how you act. I hope that has been helpful to you and that it's made sense. If not, why don't you just pop on along to my free Facebook group where you can ask me any questions you like, and I will try and answer in a different way so that you can understand how you can stop your emotions from hijacking your experiences, your life, and your relationships. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now.